This is this is intended to be this is, first of all, this is an impromptu video. Forgive me, it's haphazard, hasn't been planned out, but I, and this is perhaps my bed hair video. If I do more videos like this, maybe I'll I'll change the name of the podcast from Ideas Between Us to Bed Hair Thoughts, something. But I was watching, well, for I've had this microphone. I got an audio system, and uh, today at some point I should be getting a cord, so my audio should be better. But I'll try not to distract myself by looking in the viewer, by the preview. I saw a video last night while I was sleeping. Well, actually, a few minutes ago it ended. It was about personality tests, and I want to propose my own understanding or my own model of the way the mind works, and so forth. Um, I had been persuaded somewhat by the Myers-Briggs personality test indicator, however, MBTI, because I had read a book called something like your color umbrella, or what color is your umbrella, and so I got green, dominant, and gold, semi-dominant. And my mom took one independently, and she got the same results. And then I looked into it further, and it recommended that it recommended learning Myers-Briggs personality types. Um, so not having like a zillion dollars to afford the test, maybe that's good. Um, I just looked online at 16personalities.com, and by the way, this is not endorsed. I'm not getting any paid endorsement. Um, I simply looked through, and this is a characteristic, I guess, of my whatever personality type I am. I just simply looked through and saw that the campaigner seemed to fit me best of the 16 different types. That's the artistic one, really artistic one, and creative one, and people person one, and I like talking with people and chatting with people, and it's ENFP. Um, and now, for the rest of the video, I want to break away from that. So this is not an endorsement of MBTI. In fact, it's a revolution. It's my own early thoughts. I'm recording about what the MBTI would be about. So, I mean, my own personality, my not personality, my own understanding of the mind. Um, so this documentary was pointing out the flaws, inherent flaws in MBTI, and so you can. I was watching. I think it was on HBO Max. It might have been on Hulu, but anyway. All right. So here are my early thoughts on it, on my new model. That that the one of the flaws in MBTI or models like that is that um, they categorize with very limited scope, like only four letters can describe every all the whole personality. I don't think that's true. Um, I think I as I was thinking about my experiences in my own life, and I'm very aware, I'm very introspective. This channel began with the title Introspection, so I'm very introspective and aware of the common person experiences and so forth. So I think it's more complex than that. I think a better kind of model would be not so, some might call it linear. Mine would be more holistic, and that's not to jump on the bandwagon of using the term holistic. Um, I think, well, all right, I'll mention some models that I think have good promise, show good promise. And I want to say, I hope that we can find some brain scans that will show evidence of what I'm talking about. But um, one model is the internal family systems model. Started by Dr. Richard Schwartz, and he found that people would say, he analyzed family dynamics, and he found that individuals themselves, said, well, part of me is thinking this, another part of me is thinking that, and so forth. So he developed this idea of different parts of the mind coexisting, and it's not so mono, um, or not so. It's not just one mind; it's different parts of the mind. So basically, his model consists of a core that has your true, like your true self, your core fire. Um, what perhaps in Star Wars would be the Force, the feeling of the Force. It represents like 8 different C words: courage, compassion, creativity, and a whole bunch of other C's. And that's the core. And then on top of that, there are different parts, and each part, it's almost like, um, not split personality. Well, that's an outdated term, but like, you know, multi-part personality type models. So a part can experience trauma, and that trauma um, could not, may not be aware that it's lived, that time has progressed. In other words, you may be biologically 45, but that part of your mind that carries this trauma from 6 years old may still think you are 6 years old, or it thinks it is 6 years old because it's trapped in that mindset. And then there are other parts, there are different kinds of parts. And this is not my whole model, because this is Dr. Richard Schwartz, and I think that he's onto something. He's been onto something, but there are other aspects I want to cover in this video. There are firefighter parts which then try to put out fires of trauma, so that the part that has the trauma holds on to the trauma, just experiences the trauma and triggers, spark the trauma to flare up again. So a firefighter part then tries to put out the fire various ways. It could take up drinking or addictive behaviors, and that that intrigued me because it gave an explanation as to why people would be aware that, for example, drinking or taking abuse, self-harm drugs, or cutting. Well, all right, YouTube may not like this. I don't want to go further. But abusive, self-abusive things that they know are wrong, but yet they do it anyway. Even people eating for comfort, like ice cream or comfort foods, could be doing it to comfort themselves, or essentially their firefighter part is trying to extinguish a flare-up of that was triggered by outside stimuli. Then there's a sort of a manager part that tries to coordinate these different parts. And I don't want to say that the model says that because you have these different parts, it's not one. It's that it's a split personality. That there's something wrong with you. Dr. Schwartz was saying that this is the way he suspects that each of us is. That we just have these different parts, and some of them hold on to traumas, and there are other parts that try to act as firefighters, and then there are other parts that try to manage this. So if there does exist, I don't remember the name. It used to be called split personality disorder, or at the moment I'm not thinking. You get the idea that there are people who claim to have multiple identity disorders. You know what I'm talking about. This, if that does exist, then this could explain that. All right, so there's there's one aspect of the mind that I suspect that he's onto something. That would explain the core essence and some triggers, some behavior in the mind. Then there's another part of the mind that I suspect, well, I suspect is there because I have been a longtime student of Dramatica theory. What's Dramatica theory? It was developed by two filmmakers, and I want to emphasize something, and they want to emphasize something. In fact, well, all right, two of them, Chris Huntley and Melanie Ann Phillips. And I'll say right off the bat, Chris has expressed concern that the Dramatica model, he's worried that the Dramatica model could be used as a psychological model and could be turned into a cult and so forth. So I want to put that out as a warning. I want to be very careful about that myself. All right. So they developed this over 2 years, like very intensive, like 2 year study, a handful of years of study. They built this whole model. It has certain algorithms, and it's a predictive model. Now, this is the big part. What is it a predictive model of? They were trying to figure out how movies work, and their approach was unique. It wasn't like the books and gurus that I had read before, trying to understand movies myself because I'm an aspiring storyteller and filmmaker, professionally aspiring. They took a psychological approach. So they found that, well, their model inevitably, their model ultimately became this. It's it's like a Rubik's cube, 4 levels representing, 4 levels of complexity. It's fractal and fractal. You may not know what that means. All that means is basically that it's one kind of operation, one kind of behavior of a model that operates on 4 different levels of depth. So it's the same thing. It's the top, you just have 4, and then the next it's 16, the next it's like 64, and so forth. So, but it's the same behavior amidst a quadrant of 4 units. So it's just a matter of context. It's all context. So so it would say that that in a perfect like a very calm mind, there's this periodic table of this I'll call it Rubik's cube or periodic table. I'll call it periodic table of elements. The table of elements. That's what they call it, table of elements. So a story is when the mind, a story comes out of a mind trying to deal with something that can't coexist, a dilemma, just something cannot coexist, and it tries to wrap itself and try and deal with the problem, try and deal with the incongruity. So it then, through computer algorithms that they calculated, and can't be privy to that because it's proprietary information. It's a proprietary story engine. They call it story engine. So it takes this model and then dynamically and holistically, basically, it rearranges the model based on certain criteria that you put in. It twists the model around so that you don't have, like, for example, in the Rubik's Cube model, you don't have, like, you no longer have 6 sides, each with a perfect color, the uniform color. Now it's all mixed up. So the creation of story is simply, or the story itself basically is the human mind working its way through trying to unravel that Rubik's Cube, that mixed up Rubik's Cube, in such a way as to best conform with one's own mind and externality. And so they created this in early 1990s, and they've been testing it each month. Their office is in Los Angeles, and they have a group of people come in, volunteers, really enthusiasts of the theory, come in, watch a movie each month, and then at the end of watching the movie, they have a session and they go through a routine, trying to, they would put in I think it's like something like only 8 different questions that you put in, and that tells the model, the story engine, how the Rubik's Cube would be twisted up. And so that's very predictive. It predicts like over 70 something different characteristics. It's a whole theory. It's not just some linear computer thing or something you can read in a book. It actually requires a computer, because you can't just teach all the algorithms in this one book, because that's very linear. It's very, very dynamic. I understand, the top level. I know some algorithms, I can do them in my head, but because something up here changes and then it cycles through and cycles through, the deeper you get into this twisting up, the more subconscious or unconscious it is, and the human mind just consciously cannot figure that out or be aware of self-aware of this. It does it on an internal, unconscious or subconscious level, and that's the point of Dramatica. It's it's showing these reports. The Storyform report shows us what it's like, a snapshot. The human mind, what the human mind is doing, figuring out a problem. So when we watch a movie, we are bonding with the elements in the movie certain ways, and it's really a mimicry. It's the movie. It's like a dream. The best analogy would be a dream. Like you're in a dream. I think, and I think a lot of people would agree, that the dream is your mind just cleaning itself out and assessing things and so forth. So when you can't dream, you simply go nuts after a while, and that's been shown. That's been demonstrated. I dare say proven. So when you watch a movie, it's like a dream in that you're understanding how to deal with issues, how to deal with problems, almost like a dream. And so you apply that in your life, or you can apply those things in your life. And what the two founders of this theory say is it's an argument. A story is an argument. A fully told story has all 4 through lines, and you can look to see what that means. All 4 through lines is an expression of an argument, and why you should do something, why it's arguing, like why it's good to care about your best friend in war or something like that, and it covers it from 4 different perspectives throughout. A fully told story covers it from 4 different perspectives, and it points out the alternative, and it's the dynamic of the two fighting with each other. You should care about your friend, or you should deal with practicalities. You should fight out, and ultimately one wins out over the other, and that's why at the end of the story there's this great feeling of triumph, so forth. It's much more complex than that. All right, so we have the Dr. Richard Schwartz model of what I would say is like this core self of courage, creativity, compassion, and so forth. And that's when you're at your most comfortable, you're most energetic, and you're basically at peace. And then you have these different parts, and they're firefighter parts. They're triggered by certain external stimuli, and then there's another part which is the dramatica part, which is not to say that films describe your personality, but that I would peg it in the decision making aspect of your mind. And it's interesting that in the model, in the Dramatica model, now this became controversial. I've read that this became controversial. It makes sense to me, I guess. I can only speak for 50% of this. Sometimes, like maybe 51 or 52, maybe, or 47 or something or other. But the main character, that's your in the Dramatica model, the main character represents the personal viewpoint, your own viewpoint in the story, your own personal viewpoint in the story. As you make decisions instinctively, they could be what I think the earliest term, one of the earliest terms, basically in a male way or a female way. And there have been characters in movies that are resolve a problem in the story. There have been male characters that resolve it in a female way, or think throughout the story in a female way, and female characters who resolve it in a male way. So it doesn't mean that the character has to be biologically male or female. It means, see, and that's what created from what I read, that's what created this controversy, people not understanding the concept and so forth. So I like the more modern terms that they used. It's the same concept. It's always been the same concept, but they changed the terms because people don't understand things and they don't read very well. I mean, too deeply and so forth. It's holistic versus linear. Excuse me. The main character could think linearly. In other words, point to point to point to point. They would instinctively, when they're problem solving, and that was at one point that was the term for it. How does the main character problem solve? Is it by connecting the dots, or is it thinking of more spatially thinking of the ramifications, or thinking of how does this person tend to behave, stuff like that. So I'm being very quick about these explanations. So the male one would be the linear method of doing it, and the female one would be the spatial or holistic way of doing it. So as a quick way, the male would be dot to dot to dot to dot, and the female way would be more like ripples in a pond. Like this ripple emanates outward, and then it impacts this, and it impacts that. So a female mindset would instinctively make decisions based on how this ripple will impact that ripple and impact that ripple. And that makes sense if you think about it very stereotypically. I personally enjoy space, what it calls story limit. I personally enjoy a story limit of spatial relationships where you have certain things that have to be worked through in order for the whole thing to be a success. The very linear way, very male, very linear way of thinking about it would be enjoying like a time limit. There's only a time limit, not an object. Many objects have to be figured out limit, but a time limit. It's very linear. All right, so I personally, I guess, like the object-oriented thing. But anyway, so stereotypically, why men would tend to like action plots and women would tend to enjoy character relationships because of dynamics between characters. So I wanted to throw that in there. And I don't want to come across as being very stereotypically gender based. It's not that. It's how the mind thinks, and it's not necessarily how the mind, like if you apply this to yourself, it's not that you will always be thinking in a like male way, like linearly, or as a female way, holistically. It's just that um, one of the two one of the two founders, Melanie and well, I don't want to go into that, but some people think that genetic, like women tend to think holistically, and men tend to think linearly. I don't want to get into that, but I want to say that for the purpose of this particular dilemma that this story is wrapped around, that the human mind is trying to wrap itself around, and therefore the story comes about is derived from the human mind working. For this one dilemma, you can either do it holistically, problem solved linearly or holistically. That's what I'm saying. So, all right. So you have, back to Dr. Richard Schwartz. So you have that as your core, like your core self, enjoyment of courage, compassion, creativity, and a bunch of other C's. And then you have the triggers. You have the flames that pop up and trying to manage that from past experiences, external stimuli. Then you have the Dramatica model, which would be which would involve decision making. So there's decision making, and then I guess your core self. So that would be within your own. That would be like within a circular thing itself. Then you have external stimuli, and you have the thing about nature and nurture. Some of your personality would be, there's such a thing, is like a core personality is nature, and some of it is nurture. Now, I like to have an entirely nature model, and that's one of the flaws, I think, of Myers-Briggs, MBTI, that it seems to say that it's all nurture. All nature, that you're like born with this. I don't think so. Like, there's so many triggers. There's so many experiences based on race, racial experiences, generational experiences, experiences based on how capable, like if you're handicapped. I hope YouTube does strike me for these things. It's tricky. It's even saying anything. But all right, whether you're handicapped or how able you are, and probably other factors too. So those help paint your your perspective, your perspective of the world, and so your attitudes, certain senses, certain ways. So it's more complex than simply having a 4-letter designation for personality type. So there's a series of books by Strauss, and I think it's Strauss and Howe. One of them I know is deceased, but they had this model where there are cycles of 4 generations, and within each cycle, each generation has a nickname. It goes prophet, nomad, hero, artist, and then the next cycle, it goes again, prophet, nomad, hero, artist, and the nomad generations in each cycle all share certain characteristics according to this model that they wrote books about. The nomad is like a latchkey child. They're the child in between very strong dominant generations, born in between 2 strong dominant generations, and they grow up. Their childhood is spent while their parent generation is dominating, and then the generation before that, their grandparents would have been elders and so forth. So that's one thing that intrigued me about this model. for example, in the 1980s, I was born in 1975. 1980s, I'm a nomad generation member, so I experienced the 1980s in a different way than my parents did, and the great grandparents and or grandparents did, and so forth. Um, so that colored my experience, colored me for life. Basically, I have certain attitudes and so forth. So what they did in these books is they identified previous generations. Especially, I was especially intrigued by the founding fathers like Washington, Jefferson, and Benjamin Franklin were not like collectively founding fathers so much as they were members of different generations. Benjamin Franklin would be in the prophet generation. Profit, not profit making money, but although some may say it is about making profit, but no, profit as in very belief system oriented and kind of preachy. Um, and Then George Washington is the child generation from that parent generation. He would have been a nomad generation, so I may have certain characteristics that are similar to what George Washington grew up with on a thematic level, a very basic experiential level, like latchkey. Although they weren't, obviously modern technology is different from the way it was in 1700s, but um, he would have been between two dominant generations, namely Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson. So that would have colored certain things, certain experiences, common experiences would have colored his outlook on life. Pragmatic. I think they're nomads are characterized as being very pragmatic and kind of not trusting authority entirely or not trusting government institutions entirely, which kind of goes along with George Washington. Um, Ironically, being the first president of the United States. Then the next generation would have been Thomas Jefferson, who would have been a member of the hero generation, and then after that, the artist generation. So it goes on. And then the artist generation then gives birth to another prophet generation, so forth, and it cycles through. So that could also explain the cycles in American life or humanity, particularly let's just stick with our country. Certain cycles where at times the community is strong and the individual is weak, and then other parts of the cycle, the individual is strong and the government is seen as wrong or too rigid, or we must break it down and so forth and reform it and so forth. So anyway, so what I'm saying is that there are external stimuli, there are external conditions. There's your physical body that you can't change, and that causes some experiences in your life that would color your personality, your attitudes. Maybe I should identify the difference between these different personality terms: attitudes, behavior, personality. What is personality? I'll probably call this "What is personality?" or my own personality model in its infancy. So there are also external experiences just from you're encountering with other people, and so forth. So I think that's about all I want to say right now. Having gotten through that, I woke up. It's about 6:12 in the morning Eastern Standard Time, so I just want to get this out. And I want to say that I'm really pleased. I'm thrilled that it's a small start, but my videos, especially my shorts, the YouTube shorts are not these shorts. My YouTube shorts are gaining more visibility. I want to make this channel a my creative entertainment company in some sense. No matter whatever legal form that is, legitimate form that is, I think of it as my own creative company, my own creative expression. As I said before, an aspiring professional filmmaker, and songwriter, and so forth. And so I have this microphone, and I have. Let me see if I can move this. Yesterday, or well, a few hours ago, something like that, I got this. Focus right there, Scarlett something. And I noticed on the screen there's an icon that says Scarlett because I plugged this in. It took me a few seconds to realize, what is Scarlett? Why is that on my screen? But there it is. And today I should get a cable that would connect the back of this to that. And I verified with, oh, that's another thing. I switched from ChatGPT because I was paying $20 a month to ChatGPT. It's a bribe. No. I was paying ChatGPT. Wouldn't be a bribe. It would be blackmail. I was paying ChatGPT for AI assistance with various things. I treat it as a secretary and assistant. And so I'm proud of myself for having broken away from that. I switched to Gemini because I realized that when I was lazy, too lazy sometimes to get out of bed, I went over because my bed's over there. And I have my iPhone 8. Yes, I know there's iPhone 17 now. I know it, but it still works. My iPhone still works. And I'll go open Safari. Yes, I know I use Safari sometimes. Open up Safari, and I guess when I start asking okay, when I open it up, there's a regular search. I ask it something and hit return and give some answer, and then I noticed a few months ago that to its side there's AI mode. So I've been pressing AI mode because I can ask it further follow-up questions to the answer it gave. So I found that I guess that's Google or Gemini, Google's form of AI. So I thought, well, I recognized that there were some things that ChatGPT just simply wasn't doing well, and I'm paying $20. So I asked, like, how much is Gemini? Oh, it's $20. Oh, so I switched to Gemini. I canceled ChatGPT, and oh my gosh, please watch please watch the movie. I can't remember what I called it. It's a mock trailer of a movie. It's actually a movie project I've wanted to create for a long time. I want to pitch for a long time, but I figured, just like my experience with ChatGPT, there it is again. Past experience informs your attitudes and how you approach things, your decision making stuff relative to Dramatica. But I figured it would be a series of prompts, and then know this, and correcting the chat GPT in the session. So if we're correcting this, and I just put in one paragraph. I said, I want to make a video about celebrity, da 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 da. It was a short paragraph. It took a few seconds to type because I had thought about this movie idea for a long, long while, several decades. And then all of a sudden it said generating video, something like wait 1 to 2 minutes. What? All I did was just, I want a video. I want to create a video, da 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 da. And then take a look at it. All I did was simply so this video popped up, and I downloaded it, and it looked realistic. I mean, ChatGPT would just create. First of all, I don't know if it could even create videos. I don't know, but I have to go through other software and so forth. So that's why it stunned me, like generating video. I didn't even ask for it. I just said I want to make a video. Wow, and then I watched it. Oh my gosh, this is actually like a real movie trailer. Wow, with sounds and everything, like moving human-like characters moving around. Oh my gosh. Wow. So I took that, and then I wanted to edit it. Now, up until recently, I'd been using iMovie to edit these things. But it suggested, again, I like this. I use ChatGPT before, and I'm using Gemini for this process, for this purpose. I ask it, what's the best tool I can use to edit this? And it recommended CapCut, um, which has more features than, and it's free. I downloaded the free version, um, and that has more features than iMovie. iMovie, or not iMovie. Yeah, iMovie. Right. iMovie is for basic. What it said, it was basically for. It's nice for home movies. No, I'm not a home movie creator. I'm a documentarian. I'm a filmmaker. I want to create content for this channel that's high level, on par, hopefully, with stuff you'd see on streaming services like um, Prime and Netflix and Hulu and so forth. So that's why I've reorganized this, and I hope you've seen my new logo for the channel. So I used that. That's all I did. I downloaded this video that was a few seconds, maybe 19 seconds, something like that long, if that. I think it was more like 5 seconds or something. Anyway, I took that and I put it in, and then I chopped it up a bit. Um, I added music underlying, I added music underneath what they were saying in the video, what the voices were saying in the video, and very little else. And so when you see that video, it's a YouTube short, and it's also available as a video if you go through looking at my videos. Oh my gosh! Oh, I just naturally switched to that, and then I don't know where to start with this. I'll try. I'm also wanting to write music, and so it recommended. Um, I don't remember, Music FX. It also said, I looked into Claude. Maybe it recommended Claude. That Claude is more better, is more adept at collaboration in terms of creative effort. So even though Gemini is capable of developing some things in terms of my creative work, it's not so good with imagination. Of course, I'm the ultimate imaginative creator, so I'm ultimately the driver of all this. But it's good as an assistant. It's very efficient. Gemini is very efficient as an assistant. That huge, much more memory capacity than ChatGPT, which could, if you go through a chat, if you use AI, you'll probably know what I'm talking about. It can tend to forget after a while what you're talking about, but Gemini's long-term memory is greater, so it can have access and remember contexts much better for much longer periods of time. Okay, so it recommended Claude. So my new workflow has changed. I'm trying to catch up. I've had decades of ideas and so forth. So I'm going to use Gemini as my slave. I'm paying $20 to have a very efficient secretary, and it's a secretary. I don't mean to demean or put gender connotations to that. I mean secretary in terms of keeping secrets and information, being up on information. I can ask it certain things. And assistant meaning okay, do this. I want this done. I want that done. Give me this. Give me that. So, and then I'll go to Claude. So, for example, when I want to write things like music and so forth, I'm going to write all my feelings and emotions and so forth. And Gemini helped inform me on how best I can record these different thoughts and ideas so they're not scattered in terms of songwriting. And then it gave me like a format. So I'm saving that in Google Docs. And then when it comes time to actually write the lyrics, I imagine I will have loads and loads, like very thick documents, to then feed like one by one, so like song by song, into Claude, and then collaborate with Claude like a brain trust. Like, let's come up with good song lyrics and good music. And then there's Music FX, which is a means of developing my own music, like for documentaries. Um, it's all royalty free, meaning I don't have to pay anybody any royalties. So I can type in a prompt for a short piece of music, like for example, yeah, so it saves me time from looking through the audio library. I want suspenseful music. No, it's not quite. No, I can type exactly what I want in a prompt. Like, um, I want suspenseful music for a documentary in the genre of historical, some I don't know, westerns or something like ancient Egypt or something or other, and it will presumably give me just a few seconds of suspenseful stings that I can just download and insert in my in CapCut. Wow. And then I found that there was a limit in of how many videos can be generated per day, even in the $20 a month plan, which I have. I reached three videos. I was creating a moving logo. In other words, I have the logo you see at the top of my YouTube channel, or in my YouTube channel. So I've noticed in Hulu and Prime and so forth, the streaming services, they have HBO Max, they'll have some motion, they'll have their logo in motion, some kind of video. I want that too, because I want to look professional. So, unlike what I'm looking at here with the appearing how I'm presenting here with the muffled hair. My girlfriend likes me with muffled hair anyway. She says I'm cute. Cute. She always says I'm attractive. So anyway, that's why she's my girlfriend. So anyway, back to this. I was going somewhere with that. The logo. So I inserted the logo, the still logo, and I typed in a prompt like I want this. I had an exact idea of what I want. I want the moon and the female genie on a rug, going towards each other, and then there's a flash, and then there's melodic music, and then there's a chime. I visualized that, so I gave it the prompt, and then it took a couple of tries even then, and then it did it perfectly, except it misspelled. In Visionary Ventures, it misspelled Ventures as Vengar or something. And then the bottom part, Embrace the Fantasy, which is the slogan. Fantasy was Fantiasi, was misspelled. So darn. However, and then I asked, can it be regenerated? So please correct these things. And knowing, of course, that I'd reached my three, I was testing it whether it's 3 or 4. I guess it's 3 each day, a limit of 3 video generations each day or each 24-hour period. And it gave me my answer. Yeah, you've hit your. But it said it was generated, but it can't give it to me until for 24 hours until the next day. Okay. Then I went to I started a new chat for some other reason, and I because I was scripting podcasts. I have some exciting podcast ideas. I have one about interstellar travel and the latest in warp drive. I have another one about simulation theory. Are we living in a simulation? Which is in part of the same podcast as my out of body experience and near death. So the podcast is about near death and out of body experience, the evidence for it. And I venture into talking about, are we living in a simulation? Because that may tie in how that jives in. And then I said something like, I want to create a video about, a podcast video about some, and it without even telling, I didn't want to tell it to create a video. But in this new chat, it created a video, a few seconds of a video. I think it was like 8 seconds. I didn't even want that. How could that happen if I'm limited to 3? Well, that's how I learned that if I'm paying for, as I understand it, if I'm paying for the service, $20 per month, then I also have access to, not only in this chat, these chats here, which have a limit of 3 per day, but I have access to Google Flow and Google Vids. And so I learned more about the difference between Google Vids and Google Flow. I think Google Flow is more tuned to um, creating films and so forth. And Google Vids, I don't remember, it said training films and so forth. But I want to learn, I want to explore it and be an expert at all these online tools. So I made a list right here. I don't know if you can read it. I wrote in pencil, but basically I wrote a list. Probably can't see that, but of the different animations that I foresee needing. And there aren't that many. I want, for each podcast, each documentary or ongoing podcast, I want an opening video generated. I want a closing credits video generated. And then there are a few other things, the company moving logo. And then there's still images. That's a different piece of software. Gemini should be better than ChatGPT at generating still images. So there have been texts on my Amazon bookshelf that I wrote that I put them up. I used Kindle to create them, or most of them anyway, and I want to say they do need reworking because I'm now older and I'm playing the George Lucas card where I'm not really satisfied later on with how, what I could do more. They could be in a better form. So I was able to transfer them off. They're still there, but I mean I was able to make copies, direct copies. So all 6 of them exist on my desktop. I'm looking at them right now, and I want to use Gemini. I'm being open about it. I'm the mind. I'm in full control. I'm the driver. Not going to let AI write it for me. But as I said before, I'm treating it as an assistant and a slave, $20 paid slave, $20 per month paid slave. I wonder what that works out. It's not even just one day for a human worker. I'm speaking like a corporate person already. So, and it kind of ties in with George Lucas' Star Wars thing with the clones and everything. Anyway, all right, slaves and everything. Okay. So I plan to take these ideas in my mind and get them out and finally put them out there into the world, my channel and my Amazon bookshelf. And I have a Vimeo account too, and I now have 2 videos up on there. I have my bumper, my channel bumper. If you look through, you'll be able to see my videos, you'll be able to see my YouTube bumper. I put that in Vimeo, and I put that latest mock, meaning it's a similitude. It's a fictional movie. The movie doesn't exist. Hopefully it will, but it's a mock trailer. In other words, it's not making fun. That's not what I mean by mock. It's just how would a trailer for this movie look? It was an experiment, really. So Vimeo, I have all that stuff privatized. So my public content for the world, for the masses, will be on YouTube. And if I want to pitch something for more professional reasons, that's what I'm going to use Vimeo for. I'm going to share, that way I can keep the videos, the content private, or certain things on an individual basis I can keep private or public. And I can share those private things or public things on Vimeo with executives, like if Steven Spielberg comes calling, or some great agent or manager, film manager, or something like representation, or whatever. Somebody I really want to collaborate with, I can share it there. So, probably missing a lot, but there's so much exciting stuff I want to share. I can't think of it at the moment. I have those podcasts in mind, and I want to go back to bed. It's now 6:32 in the morning on the East Coast. So, all right. Thank you. I also want to thank you all for liking whatever you did. Like, you just viewed my videos, my content, liked any of my views. More comments would be nice. I appreciate any support you can give, and I have a shoestring budget. I'm still unemployed. I've been unemployed since I was laid off in August, early August, August 8th, actually, of 2025. So I'm using this time while I apply to jobs. I'm using this time to be as creative as possible, to learn this material as much as possible. I'm adding these skills to my LinkedIn profile because legitimately I am learning what's what seems certainly the wave of the future. So anyway, all right, that's it. I'll talk to you next time.